Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kenye pra IAS induction controversy upor clarify kurshe. Juntu Joint Coordination Committee pra shuru kora laga thakishe. Kenye pra kushi ki jamila the March 10, 2025 day vacancy laga advertisement nimite shuru hoishe. Koti NPSC clear kora khani apply kurubole parabo kokina thakishe. Itu advertisement upor Chief Minister tu najarne kina thakishe kushe aro officials kan thik thak procedures kan bi palan kuranai kushe. Kita itu galti laga khulasa hoise itu khobor ki cancel kuri dishe aro bodli kuri dishe jintu pra janta bishi sawal ani dishe aro itu pra agitation shuru hoise Kenye pra kushi ki poila de NPSC clear nakuri kina bi officers kan laga induction de iku digdar hwanai aro ita inigar protest kora tu bhabna laga bahar thakishe kushe itu nimide sob party kan ke agitation pra nahoi kina budget kuri kina mamla ke solve kuribole binti kurishe Sub-committee meeting the October 20 day lobole ase aro cabinet prabi frontier Nagaland territory issue aro commission for review of reservation to meeting homoy discuss kuribo koikina janaishe.
Good evening. Thank you for making yourself available this evening. Today we had the state cabinet meeting. And many long-awaited issues were deliberated. One of the first subjects we deliberated upon was, of course, the current agitation going on in the form of pen down strike by Kenye, Nita and associates against the advertisement of the IS vacancy from the state government side, which used to be conferred to government servants, officers, with a breakup of some reservation for the state civil services sector and the other portion for the non-state civil service sector. So here a controversy has erupted very recently, and you must be keeping track of the reasons that they are putting forward to the government and on the actions that the state government has been resorting to in the exercise to fill the one vacancy which is present. I would like to take us back to the precedents which was set already since many decades ago and try to refresh everybody's memory on the way how the vacancies arising in the IS induction used to be offered to our officers. So roughly, we may say out of the 33% that falls vacant for the state governments, out of that 33%, there used to be something like a breakup of half and half, 7.5% or 7%, 8%. More for the civil service, state civil service cadres, and the remaining for the officers from the other services. So it is in these other services quota that sector where the controversy has arisen. From what has been deliberated by the cabinet today, thorough inputs have come in high officials, uh, legal opinions have been sold, and the state government have also gone into in-depth study on the nature of appointments made for vacancies falling in this sector. What the cabinet has discovered or observed today is that this is not a new trend which the present government has introduced. Rather, the state cabinet, the government has adhered to the practices which were set as precedents by the previous governments. And that one vacancy which arises this time, there's a tussle on it that it should be reserved for officers who have been appointed through the NPSC, exclusively for those candidates whose entry point was through the Nagaland Public Service Commission only. Earlier, people were not clear about this, but on further scrutiny, it has been established that there were so many officers in decades past who were conferred the highest title and inducted this cadre, who were not NPSC entries. So the agitating party today are insisting to make the entry point a basis and the sole benchmark for an officer to qualify to be considered for induction to this highest cadre. But the practice that we have with us over the years is the entry point should not be the basis on which this decision should be taken. Rather, as per the IS 1954 rules, which is clearly established back in 1954, they have already established certain laws and acts in the subsequent years, like in 1997 also. This is to do with the appointment by selection against the rule vis-a-vis the 1997 Act of IS. And also other rules that governs in the selection of the officers. It clearly states that the entry point is not the basis and should not be. Rather, whichever entry point they might have been inducted into the state services, what matters more and counts is their annual reports, service reports. We call it APRs. And their integrity, their loyalty, their ability, and their commitments and performance should be the criteria upon which they should be considered and qualified. There are other rules which also say that they should have served at least for a minimum period of 8 years in a substantive capacity, which I would say is in a gazetted post. And their records their integrity should not be questioned. So if the selecting authorities are satisfied that they merit uh, and they qualify to be inducted, then they are taken, they are proposed by the state government, and we have at our own level the state screening committees who sees to all these details whether they fulfill the criteria or not. And it is forwarded to the UPSC again at the center. And they in turn scrutinize and study, make their own observations on the recommendations of the state screening committees. And if there are no discrepancies and the persons fulfill these criteria, then only they are recommended for the induction of this IS cadre. So this is the procedure that we follow. And here, what actually went wrong was the appointing specifically to the 10th of March 2025's vacancy circular advertisement, where one of the points, perhaps point number 4, states that the officer should be a candidate who has entered through the NPSC, making that a rule, a condition. So here, what the cabinet have observed after thorough deliberation and interactions with officers is, unfortunately, certain procedures fell short of the actual way of bringing it to the cabinet and to the notice of, especially the chief minister, who is the minister in charge of PNR, personal and administrative services. Here, our bureaucracy, I think, fell short of their required procedural duties and responsibilities when the matter was never brought to the table of the chief minister. And so he, in turn, was not made aware. And when it came to the cabinet, it was approved. It was approved for the circular to be advertised. But no sooner after it was circulated, it was found out that that particular number where the requisite qualification should be entry point to the NPSC should not have been achieved. Unfortunately, that figured in the requirements to propose the candidate or to forward the candidates. So eventually, after having detected that anomaly, it was imposed, cancelled, and another circular was advertised. So that is the point of contention where there are differences of opinion, and I think that led to the agitation which the party is now going for the second and third day. Unfortunately, they also should have brought it to the notice of the government as and when they felt that certain procedural lapses are being practiced over the years. But at no point of time, as far as we have the records, the practice of inducting officers from other services and not through the NPSC have also been entertained and were inducted in the past, was never opposed to and has never been brought to the notice of the cabinet nor the preceding governments also, even this government also. And all of a sudden, when the previous practice was being adhered to only, the realization might have dawned on some people that this should be discontinued, and without proper discussions decide, they have resorted to an agitation, which is not well taken. We function as a family, so if there are any grievances, the government expect any party from anywhere to first try and resolve by pointing out these points and try to resolve it amicably instead of resorting to sudden agitations like this. But this has to be seen from the light of a government trying to exercise its discretions also. These are policy matters, and the executive, the bureaucracy alone, cannot make policy decisions. So if there is to be a shift in the practice, then it calls for a policy decision which only the cabinet is authorized to take. Unfortunately, all this could not be observed in time, and we have a situation here today. But despite all, whatever has been said and done, we hope for a peaceful resolution. Therefore, today, the cabinet has constituted a subcommittee comprising, spearheaded by our Deputy Chief Minister, Planning, and also the Deputy Chief Minister for Home, and with a few of us as members, including our Chief Secretary. We will be discussing, studying more on this aspect, and discussing and resolving this issue with Kenye.
Nagaland TV, Sop Manulaga Awas. Watch us live on Geo TV and on your television sets as well. For Dimapur viewers, we are on channel number 994 in Global Chapter, and Kohima and Mokokchung viewers, switch to channel number 138 on Hornbill Digital. For all news and updates, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter.